All right, welcome to Treeline Pursuits. Today on this video cast, it's kind of part two of our preparing our own backcountry food. This past year, I experimented with it, meaning experimented with making my own backcountry meals. And all of my dehydrated meals and food that I would take on my extended backpack hunts. This year I decided to ditch Mountain House completely. I've got a few Mountain Houses left I might use up, but the ultimate goal is to get to where I'm doing all of my meals, which I just covered in a video. Today we're going to do, I've started taking a lot of fruits with me for snacks. I shied away from taking, quote, dehydrated fruits in the past because the weight to calorie ratio did not meet the 100 calories per ounce ratio that I wanted to be able to carry it to keep my pack light. Most fruits that you buy in the store are partially dehydrated to the point where they're pliable and they're a little chewy. Maybe they're a little more pleasant to eat, but for my fruits that I'm going to take into the backcountry, I take it a step further. I take it almost to a chip format where I'm drying it to the point where it's almost like a chip so that it's ultra light. I'm getting the same benefits of the fruit, but I'm carrying half or maybe even less than half of the weight. So today we're going to start off, the first part of this video is going to be the prep. I've done some prep already, but I wanted to make sure I covered that because I've learned some things along the way that I hope that if some of you guys start doing some of your own fruit prep, maybe some of these will help. So first of all, one of the first things you want to do is prepare your fruit. So that's pretty easy, obviously. Like today, we've got some kiwis. What I do with the kiwis, I've already done this, is I cut the ends off with a knife. And then I take a regular, like a carrot peeler, and I peel off the skin. When you're doing a high volume, it goes real quick doing it that way. So that's how I prepare the kiwis. The kiwis are really an interesting fruit dehydrated because once they're dehydrated, they're really concentrated. So they're a lot like the Sour Patch Kids candy. They're very potent. So you probably don't want to just sit and snack on these on the hillside exclusively, either the kiwis or the pineapple, because they're both very tart, very concentrated, and they actually make your mouth hurt. And they can create almost like sore spots in your mouth. They're very good though. They're very good mixed in with other fruits and so that's what I'm going to do. So I've got my kiwis, I've got my pineapple peeled. We will cut that up, get it ready here in a second. I use a lot of bananas in the backcountry for a lot of reasons. One, I like bananas. Two, the potassium. When you're out there, I learned a lot of this when I used to race triathlons and I experienced the problems from it. So when you're out there putting in serious efforts, not only are you depleting your salt, and everyone's pretty aware of their salt depletion, and they have an idea of their electrolyte depletion, but a lot of people don't realize how important potassium, magnesium, particularly potassium, is in recovery and be able to perform at your best. A lot of people don't think of hunting as performance, but it really is. I mean, you guys have all climbed hills and you've all done that. And if you don't think that's performance, and especially if you're on an extended day hunt, this year I'm going to attempt to hunt 22 to 25 days of the month of September. That's a lot of days in a row. And to be able to keep your body going for that many days, there's several things I'm having to put into place. Number one is I'm going to take a lot of fruits. I'm going to take a lot of bananas and probably a lot of glucosamine. But anyway, to go that many days, you've got to take care of your body. If you're going to try to squeeze a 5 or 7 day hunt out, your body can kind of take the wear and tear, and then you can recover after the hunt. But if you're going to try to do things on a more extended basis, usually it requires a little more attention to those kinds of details. So we've got bananas, and then we're also going to do apples, which I have not brought down yet, and we're going to do pears. So one of the things that I do with apples and pears particularly is I do not skin them. I dehydrate them with the skin on. That is a personal preference. So what I like to do with them is you just take a standard pear. I don't know, maybe I'm the last guy to figure things out, but again, my videos, they're raw, they're usually long, they're pretty detailed, so don't beat me up too much on the comments. An apple core. I mean, the simple tool is this apple core makes dehydrating super easy. You just core it and it's ready to slice. It was a game changer for me. So coring out apples and coring out pears are super simple with this little tool, and I cut them right into rings, which we'll show when we get to that. So on the pears, again, we're just gonna core it, pull the core out, and then we're ready to slice. So we'll finish up all those pears, and we'll get all of our food prepped, and then we'll be right back and we'll show you how we start to slice this up. Okay, so we're back now and we've done the prep for what I think is probably a dehydrator full. We'll talk about the dehydrator a little bit more, but I'm using the Cabela's 80-liter commercial dehydrator, and it comes with its own trays, which are very nice like this. But when you're dehydrating, bananas particularly, when they dry, they really want to stick to the grates. So we've started using and trying to use, we've got these dehydrator screens that are really, really nice. They're just a nylon, I believe they're nylon. There's just a nylon screen that I can lay on top of there. They've got the holes in them, but they're fine enough that the banana chips and stuff will lay right on top of those. And these that I'm using are LEM. I got them from LEM, lemproducts.com. I also do my own meat, which we'll do a whole series on this winter, hopefully. I do my own brats, I do my own meats, I do my own hamburgers, I do lots of summer sausages, beef stick, lots of things myself. I buy a lot of products from LEM. They're a very good source for meat processing equipment and products, and they've got a fair amount of nice dehydration supplies. So I've got these dehydrating screens from them. So we're going to do part of the bananas on the screen and part of them on the trays. And when we take them out, we're going to kind of see the difference between how they stick and don't stick, and we'll decide how good these screens are or not. So what we're going to do first is we're going to start slicing this up. So I've got the fruit prepared. The fruit prepared, as we talked about before. One of the best things that I bought for dehydrating was this Cuisinart slicer. You'll learn when you start dehydrating real quickly that the consistency of the products that you're going to dehydrate is very, very important. For example, when you're doing meals and you're finely cutting up the meat chunks, or you're doing hamburger or whatever, that the consistency is the same, because it really helps with the dehydration process. And when I first started doing it, I started slicing by hand with a knife. It was real inconsistent. I'd have some that were partially dehydrated, partially still had a moisture content. So the quality control was a little varied. So being able to use this slicer and getting them pretty, obviously they're very tiny bits with the slicer even, but it was a game changer for the consistency of the products that come out of the dehydrator. So for the purposes of this video, I'm doing a lot of fruit at once, and I'm going to put it in the dehydrator. Normally what I would try to do is try to do all pears, all apples, I might mix a few things, but the point is I would not normally put a ton of different products in the dehydrator at the same time. Not that it can't be done, it's just the varying times. At minimum, I'll try to keep one tray of kiwis, one tray of apples, etc. So at least I can remove the trays, so I'm not trying to part out the trays during the drying process. So phase 2 of this video, let's talk about slicing. So we've got our slicers. I've tried to set it roughly about a quarter of an inch. It'll usually slice a little thinner than that. Again, you want to be very careful with these slicers. They come with a guard. I use them for some things. Some things I don't. Bananas are real hard to do with this guide, so I just try to risk it, and then when I get down to the end where I feel like I'm too close, I just eat the rest of the banana. My advice on bananas, the bananas that I got today from Costco are a little more yellow than I like. I wanted to do this video, and it's August 18th, 19th here in Montana, and the season is coming, so I've got to get some products ready to hit the backcountry, because like I said, I'm not going to have a lot of days off to catch up on any food. I'm going to try to hunt on virtually every day of September except for 2 to 3. So these are a little bit more ripe than I like, so they slice better when they're a little bit, I wouldn't say green, but they're in between the green and yellow. But we're going to give them a shot, and we're going to make it work. So what I do is I just slice them off right onto the table, and then to help pick them up, I use a little spatula to keep from mashing them up and things like that. So sometimes I will cut the tips off of the bananas just to get the slicing started, right? And you can have a little snack. So we're going to slice just a couple here. And we're going to try not to slice off our finger right before bow season. Those are a little bit too thin. So I'm going to widen this blade a little bit. Those look a little better, but I'm still going to take it just a tiny bit wider. Because remember, they're going to dehydrate down pretty well. So I'm right now just probably a little bit over 1/4 of an inch. I hope you can see these coming out. I'll try to turn this a little bit. And just pile them up behind. And again, when I get to the end, I keep it easy. So we're going to do another one here. You can see how quick it goes with this slicer. You'd never be able to get the quality control right. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and turn that off so it's very noisy. And to pick them up, like I said, the spatula works really well. And I'm just putting them right on the screen to start with. And yes, I did clean the table beforehand. Okay, so when they get on the screen, I think you can see this a little bit. Once I get them on the screen, then I will start just sliding them around and placing them. You want just a little, the smallest amount of airspace you can get between them so they don't stick. But as close as you can get virtually. And they really don't stick together very much anyway, so you can really get them close as you can get. And you just kind of push them around and get them on your screen. You might be better off to put the screen under the slicer and just slice them right onto the screen. You can the point is you can develop your own tactics for that. This video is really just to show you the capabilities and what your end goals are, and then everybody can develop their own methods. Like I said, I'm anxious to see how these grates, I tried them once before and they worked pretty well, but I have not tried them on bananas yet. So we're going to find out how well they stick or don't stick, because they do stick to the grates a little bit, which is no big deal. They just pop off. So you can see that I've got the bananas kind of laid out there. I could get them a little closer than that if I wanted to. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pick up the bananas and finish that up when we come back. But we're going to slice up some pineapple now so we can kind of show you that. Pineapple's a little more firm. And this is one where you get down that you can definitely use the guard better because it's a firmer vegetable fruit. Okay, so now we've got some pineapples. We're gonna put the bananas aside. Now we're gonna go right to the screens for everything except bananas. Honestly, I just go right on the screens. Again, you're gonna just get your pineapple on these screens. You're gonna just space them out. Typical standard dehydrator stuff. It's nothing special about this. Now, I had somebody tell me they like to put salt on their fruit before they dry it. They like to do that. Like people like to put salt on watermelon and stuff. I mean, I guess if you're looking for electrolyte a little bit, you can have a little salt sweet. So I guess you could salt a little bit of your fruit. I was going to try that and try and see how it went. Okay, so our pineapple is looking really good. That's going to dry up really nice. Again, the pineapple is a little bit, goes a long way when you're mixing up your fruit. The pineapple, especially the way I dry it, it's real intense. I really like it a lot. But like I said, you do not want to probably just sit around and eat a bag of pineapple or those kiwis. They are pretty stout. So you can see kind of how we put the pineapple on. Again, I'm just going to set that aside for now. And now I'm going to show you just real simple how we do the apples and the pears. So here's a pear. Again, the pears, they're much easier to slice. Actually, they're not as easy to slice as apples because they're kind of irregular shapes. I'm going to go a little bit thinner for these. Okay, so there we got a pear. So you can see on the pears, with the skin on, they're very good with the skin on like this. They're just, these are probably right under 1/4 of an inch. Again, it doesn't matter really the thickness that you pick as long as it's consistent. I think that obviously the thinner the better. I mean, that's not true. There's a fine line between too thin and it becoming really crispy and crumbly, and then too thick and not getting completely dehydrated. So these are much easier to put on. They're really quick to do. So you got your pears. And the pears are really good dehydrated. I really like the flavor of the pear dehydrated. And again, I like to just take these when we bag them, when we talk about that. You just mix it up. So again, you're just laying your pears out. Again, pretty simple, basic dehydrator stuff. And then the apples, they slice virtually the same. We're going to wrap up all this fruit, get it all sliced up, get it on trays, and then we'll be back and we'll show you. We'll put it in the dehydrator, we'll set the temp, and we'll get the ball rolling on this. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, and we finished cutting up all of our fruit. We used the slicer on everything. I had 2 little helpers here helping me lay out the fruit. So, like I said before, I want to recap this. I'm dehydrating a variety of fruit here, which is perfectly fine. But I've found that some of the fruit dehydrates a little quicker than others, so I'll have to check it. I'm going to put this all in for 12 hours because that's kind of the average for all of it. I like to take it to real dry, and we still may have to add a little bit onto that at the end. We're going to start at 12 hours at 135 degrees. And we're going to vary the trays between the various fruits, and I'll kind of show you as I put them in. So, pineapple and kiwi looks very good. Put that in. And then we'll put in a tray of bananas. So this first tray, you can see, is on the on that LEM dehydrator grid. We'll see how that does with the stick. The bananas that, like I mentioned before, bananas that are really ripe tend to get really gooey when you're slicing them, and I think that's what causes them to stick to these trays. I think the ultimate goal is to get a little less ripe bananas, and I think you'll have a lot less issue. And again, some people treat their fruit to keep them from browning. You can see the apples already just been out for 15 or 20 minutes, turn a little brown. I don't worry about that. To me, it doesn't mess with the taste, so I don't worry about it. But you can obviously dip them. There's a lot of various techniques you can do to your fruit. Another tray of just apple slices. I slice them whole, large. They shrink down nice. And again, we're drying them pretty consistently dry, so I like them sliced whole like that. I mean, obviously you can vary your techniques, cut them in half, then slice them. I sliced all of this in less than 15 minutes with that slicer. From beginning to end, taking the fruit out of the boxes and washing and prepping and cutting and slicing to load it in the dehydrator was less than an hour. And we're gonna have, I believe this is 9 trays or 10 trays. We'll see what we get here. I kind of forgot. Again, there's some nice looking sliced pears going in. There's a whole another tray of kiwi. Here is a tray of pineapple. Oh, I found an extra tray in there. I'll slice up some more pears and put another tray in. We might as well max this thing out. It's almost September here. It's almost go time. We don't have time to be messing around with dehydrating in September when we're going to be out hunting so many days. So I'm trying to get all my food prepped and my meals bagged. Okay, so again, wrapping this up, we're going to put it in the dehydrator. We're going to set it for 12 hours. We're going to set it at 135 degrees. And then when we come back at the very last segment of this video, we're going to show you how we package it up and get it ready to take it in the backcountry with us. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, and we dehydrated the fruit for 12 hours. I came down this morning and checked on it. I decided I wanted a little more chip format so I could really get it down weight-wise. So I decided I added three more hours on. Probably could have got by with 2, but I went ahead and put 3 on. So we did a total of 15 hours, which is a little excessive for fruit. You'll see it's pretty dry. But what I like about it is it's really light. And when you put it in your mouth, you kind of chew it for a little bit, and it becomes chewier as you chew it. And I just like it that way. So again, it's all personal preference. I think it stores a little longer. And we're going to see how these bananas work. We're going to look at the bananas first. So you can see this first one I've got is the bananas. And I'll try to, I don't know if it's going to be in focus, I've got the bananas on the sheet. You can already tell they're stuck on there. Again, I shy away from using oils and other things because they can become rancid in your dehydrated foods. So you want to kind of not use that as much as possible. And I've got a spatula here. Let's see if I can get these off a little bit easier. The bananas are the worst by far because of the sliminess. And again, I mentioned this before, is they're coming off a little bit of work. Not that much work, really. Just kind of knock them off. Again, they're pretty darn dry, so you can see they're more like chips. But I love eating them like this. I don't worry about them being brown. They're a little brown, but they're not much. They kind of pop a little bit. Again, I think a little bit thicker is better on the bananas. Like I said, I went just under probably 1/4 of an inch. I don't know if I like this too much, to be honest. I wanted to try this on video, and I'm not super pumped about it. I think it's nice they don't fall through the grate because it's more of a sheet. But the bad part about it is there's more surface area for them to stick to. So you got to work a little harder to get them off. The good news is this stuff is pretty tough, and you can't quite get the spatula on some of them. So I'll work on that. I'll finish working on that. So the verdict is still out on this type of paper. This type of sheet. let's go to the bananas that are on the grates. And let's see. So again, you can see some of them come off. What I usually do is turn it upside down and just punch them off. Punch them right through the grates. These still got a little tiny bit of chewiness to them. They're not just hardcore chip. So they're going to be really good. These are coming off a little easier than the other grates. Again, I'm just punching them through and punching them off. The bananas are a little more work than the rest, like I said, but I personally think they're. Try it this way and see if it works any better. I don't think it's gonna catch on that. They're worth the work. If anybody's got any ideas on how to keep your bananas from sticking without, I don't want to use oils and stuff. I have heard you take a potato and you rub the starch on, and that'll help too. So I'll probably try that next. So the bananas are going to come off, but they do take a little bit of work, and you almost individually got to pull them off, which is no big deal. But man, like I said, the end result is pretty fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to put this bananas aside. So next, we'll see how the other stuff comes off. So this is pineapple and kiwi, and I think this will probably come off super easy. Again, these just punch right off. Yeah, these are way easier to get off. Again, the fruit sugars, cause them to stick. There's moisture in these when we dry them, and that sugar gets, as it dehydrates, it just starts to adhere. I've heard a lot of guys talk about they flip it over. I mean, I got 12 trays in there, however many there is. I'm not going to pull them out and flip them over. I'm just going to take a little bit extra time it takes to punch them off. The pineapple's coming off really pretty easy. When I clean my grates and I wash these grates, take great care to keep the extra little stuff that's left, and that helps too. So again, every dehydrator is different. Some will have more success than others. I have made some fruit leathers on parchment paper. That's the next thing I'm going to try. I'm going to try to dehydrate my next batch on parchment paper. I do suspect that that's going to be even a little easier. The parchment paper stuff comes off of that really well. So you can see that was a whole tray there of pineapple and kiwis, and you can hear the consistency of that. So I'm going to mix all my fruit together, and then I'm going to bag it. So I'm going to go ahead and take this. So the apples are certainly the easiest. So they just literally, you can see they fall right off. Got that one a little thin. Yeah, they just come right off. So I'll finish these up, but I wanted to show you a little bit about packaging. I do a couple of different things. I mentioned this in my other video where I talked about dehydrating your meals. For this time, since my hunts are coming up, and I start hunting in a week, and these are really dry, and there's no need to worry about preserving these for very long. I'm going to be consuming them pretty quick. So I'm just going to fill up small Ziploc bags of mixed varieties of the fruits. So that's actually quite a bit of fruit in that bag. So this bag is, I don't even want to dare guess how many, this is probably two kiwis, 2 full kiwis. This is probably 1 full apple, and it's probably an 1/8 of a pineapple in this bag, and we'll see what it weighs. It's weighing in at a whopping, I can't even weigh it on that scale. I'm gonna have to weigh it on my ounce scale. Let's put my 50-year-old cheaters on so I can see the darn thing. So we are looking at about 3 ounces. So we're looking at 3 ounces of weight for a lot of calories and some really nutritious fruit. So I'm going to package in this for this trip. I do use Mylar pouches. I use these for dehydrated meals because you can cook in these and you can seal them, meaning vacuum sealing. So this one is roughly, I'm not sure of the size. I'm guessing it's a 6x9. It does not have the stand-up bottom. It is plenty big to put 2 cups of meals in and or fruit in. It has a Ziploc bag at the top, and then you put it in a vacuum sealer and it will heat seal the top. So almost exactly like Mountain House. You'll pull it out, you can rip the top off, and then you can reuse the bag. If you got your fruit in, for example, you can Ziploc it, eat some, you can re-zip it. You can also put an oxygen absorber in here, which I do. So those are the small pouches that I do for meals as well. I've also found these larger pouches, and I'll talk about where I got those in just a second. These pouches have, as you can tell, they have the stand-up bottom on them, which is super nice for Mountain House meals. Although these bags are really nice for like almost family-size meals. I use these on my last scouting trip, and I found that I have a long spoon for like a Mountain House spoon. Even these bags were a little tall to get the spoon down in without getting food on yourself and having grizzlies all over you. So this bag is good, but I am going to probably order some shorter bags for more of an individual serving. I love the stand-up bottom pouches, and they've got a wider top on them for the heat seal, and they still have the zipper. So very similar to the other bags. The only real difference I'm looking for is maybe get the stand-up version of in a smaller format of these. So I get mine from sorbentsystems.com, SORBENT systems.com is where I find my bags, and I also buy the vacuum seal bags for my meat and the oxygen absorbers. I also buy a lot of meat. I do my own meat processing, which I'll be doing videos on that. I do a lot of those products on lemproducts.com. They have a really good selection of meat products. Their stuff is very high quality, especially their equipment like meat stuffers and grinders. Extremely high quality. So I really like lemproducts.com for that. Well, that wraps up our fruit preparation for the backcountry. Season's coming up in a week and a half. I'm super excited about it this year. This will be my 2nd year in Montana. I feel like I've got a little better grasp on what I'm going to be doing and where I'm going to be going. So again, I hope you subscribe to Treeline Pursuits. You can check us out on Instagram at Treeline Pursuits. We also have a Facebook page. We just kind of started that up. We're more focused on Instagram and YouTube. I've got some really good digital scouting and how to use Google Earth and Gaia and a little bit of Onyx maps. I use all those products. I'm going to have a video coming out, a series of videos coming out. I've been getting a lot of requests for that. It seems to be that's a very hot ticket item, so we'll be coming out with a lot of that. Stay tuned. We'll see you later on Treeline Pursuits.